Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another daily vlog, and I want to kind of share a somewhat of a thought process. I just filmed a review for my main channel or an EDC video about flashlights. A simple video, nothing big. But during that filming, I thought, oh, maybe I put my monitor on top of my XM5 to film it, and then I thought like, oh no, I need to rig it. It doesn't work there. I need to put something on, and yeah, I just didn't do it, and then I just filmed with the XM5 bare bones because I just didn't want to bother rigging the camera up just to make a couple of B-roll shots. So then now I'm copying all of the files here on my computer, and I'm thinking to myself, it would have been cool to kind of film at the monitor. Let's look for monitor, browsing again on Amazon. Remember the video yesterday where I thought like, oh, just use what you have. But then remember the video before that with the behind the scenes of the shooting for the behind the scenes of a stills photography shoot, where I was saying I need a better monitor to kind of see what I'm doing because it's very dim. It's a very dim monitor. So for the last few days, I've been looking for a new monitor that I can put on the XM5 that has a little bit more brightness and a couple of creature comfort. Because again, based on the vlog that I made yesterday, where I kind of talked about, oh, you already have everything that you need. And I personally am able to squeeze a lot of good footage out of the camera, but there are some points that I would need to make my life a little bit easier. For example, the monitor, where I said my eyes were a little bit strained because I had to squint because the monitor wasn't bright enough. And so that is one of the reasons why I was looking for a monitor. But during this, in air quotes, small little shoot that I did today, and I was like, oh, do you want to use the monitor? And I was like, no, I can't bother. I don't want to rig it up. I noticed one more point in this whole thing that I always need to kind of consider when buying a rig. I sometimes forget it. I'm preaching on this channel so much, hey, use the easiest camera that you have. The Pocket 3 is the best camera for you because it is so easy to kind of flip on, switch on DJI Mic 2 and then start vlogging, right? So simplicity makes vlogging and filmmaking so easy. So what I was thinking about, okay, when I get new gear for this camera, I need to keep in mind simplicity and ease of use. So for example, there is this monitor. There are two monitors that I'm set on right now. And I'm just bringing you into, I don't want to talk about tech. I want to kind of bring you into my thought process. So this one monitor is battery powered, or you need to attach an NPF battery or a power solution to that. So meaning either another cable or attach a battery to the back, just to make it run. And it has a lot of cool features like hard buttons that during the heat of the moment, a touchscreen is great, don't get me wrong, but in the heat of the moment, it is good to have some physical buttons to get to some of the features that you need in the heat of the moment. On the flip side, on the contrary, there is this monitor that has an internal battery, meaning for 2 hours, it runs 2 hours in full brightness mode. You can work without attaching a second cable. So the first cable is the HDMI cable, the second one would be the power. But for 2 hours with this monitor, you can actually film without having to attach a secondary cable. I'm thinking to myself, that is a very attractive feature just because I'm lazy. And I don't mean this in a derogatory way. Sometimes it's not about being lazy. Sometimes it's just I just want to get the shot fast. I don't want to just rig up the camera to be able to shoot. I just want to go. There is the moment, I just want to film it. And This option of a camera and the monitor on top and only having to attach one cable is such a huge advantage for this philosophy of shooting. And that is basically what I kind of want to share with you, this thought process of we sometimes think so much about the best. I want the best. For example, I want the best camera. The best camera for me personally would be a cinema camera that I already own, the BMP-CC 4K, or stepping up, going for a Blackmagic Pixels or a Blackmagic 6K. But for those of you who don't know, a cinema camera usually means, yes, you can film by itself. However, it is highly advised to rig that cinema camera out, meaning having a follow focus, because usually cinema cameras don't have continuous autofocus. They have sometimes single autofocus, but not continuous autofocus with tracking, for example. So you need to kind of rig it up with a focus. Usually you also want a monitor on there. You want to have a side handle, a top handle, and stuff like that. So to make it work, you need to kind of build it up. That would be the best camera for my workflow that I could get. But then you kind of get yourself in the way because you have to build it up. Then it becomes heavy, cumbersome, and you can't bring it with you, which is basically the reason why I feel like the Pocket 3 is the MVP, and my, let's say, secondary solution was the Fuji X-M5, which is a small camera that I can always bring that also shoots stills. But on the flip side, it is very difficult to rig up and then operate just like a cinema camera. It's just not built for that. For example, on the right side of the camera where you usually put your hands, there are all the cables coming out. So you have to think about what can I do differently to make this still workable in a ergonomic sense once it's built out into the cinema rig. So there are a lot of trip falls that you think about when kind of making that decision. Long story short, what I'm trying to say is, when you consider buying something, always also consider your use case and the way you use it. I always mention this in previous vlogs where I say I have friends who bought big cameras, an FX3 or a huge gimbal, and then they don't bring it because it's just too cumbersome. It gets in the way. The camera is too big. They don't want to bring it every day. Hence the reason it gathers dust. It just doesn't get used. Or a gimbal. You got to set it up and then suddenly you think, oh, I can just do it handheld. And then you invested like either 2,000 euros for the camera or 500 euros or whatever. I don't know how much a gimbal is for that gimbal that you don't use. So when you consider buying something, always kind of think to yourself, will I actually use this? Is this actually something that I will utilize to make it its money's worth? Because yes, as I said yesterday, I like to buy new things, and there's nothing wrong with that. However, you also always need to take into consideration, will you use it? Another example, I bought an Xbox. I haven't played with that in a while because I just don't have the time. So I bought the Anbernic retro gaming device. Is the Xbox highly superior than my Anbernic retro gaming device? It is. Is it a much better investment? For me, probably not, because I'm using the Anbernic every single day. I'm not using the Xbox every day. I'm not even using this every month. So that is what I'm trying to communicate. The thought process of, is good, or in air quotes, better, actually better for you? Are you actually going to use it? Are you actually utilizing whatever you think you need to its fullest capabilities? Again, going back to the camera, of course I would love to have an FX3 or an FX6. but I have to be realistic with myself. Will I use it? Would I use it every time? Because I don't want to walk around the city, strolling around, gathering some B-roll with a big cinema camera. The X-M5 or the Pocket 3 is much more realistic to carry around because it's small, because it doesn't get in my way, and more importantly, because I don't feel that self-conscious about it, wiggling that camera around instead of a big cinema camera. So that is a very important factor that I personally need to be much more conscious about. And this is basically in addition to the video yesterday where I said use what you have available. But also, if you want to buy something, now I'm adding to it, consider if it is realistic to use. And yeah, now I'm re-evaluating my monitor decision. The monitor is still important, I need that. But I'm now thinking about more in lines of, okay, will I actually use this? Will this help me, or will it be in my way? Will I kind of think, oh, I don't want to use it, too much hassle, you know? So yeah, that is I just want to take you into this thought process, and yeah, maybe that is something you can take into consideration for yourself as well when you are thinking about buying a new camera. Because I'm pretty certain many of you are kind of looking into, okay, let's start YouTube. Okay, which camera will I get? Sony a7S3. It's expensive, but it's a very good investment. And then once it arrives, and once you start with it, and once you put a lens on it, and you notice, oh, this is really huge. Now I just add a Gorilla Pod so I can vlog with myself. So I have this huge, let's imagine this being the camera, a huge thing like hanging in front of your face. And would you actually film with that outside? Be realistic with yourself. Kind of think about that. Will you actually use it in that? Or would a smaller camera in the size of the X-M5 or the DJI Pocket 3, or now that DJI is getting so expensive, maybe an action camera is much more suitable for you because you can kind of drop it in your pockets? And that's what it comes down to. I think usability is much more important than the quality that it gets out, that you can get out of it. Yeah, just my food for thought. Maybe this helps you in your next buying decision. Let me know in the comment section below what are your thoughts about this. And maybe check out the video from yesterday where I already kind of thought about that in the video up here. YouTube thinks that you like the video down here. Maybe help me by liking and hyping this video, but also subscribing to his channel so you can see the next vlogs by clicking the button up here. I see you tomorrow. Thank you very much.